I first learned about Women's History Month actually coming to LaSalle and working for the IC3. Jesse Toriak was like, hey, this is Women's History Month, so let's see if we can plan an event around it. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know that was actually a thing. So here at LaSalle.
I think fairly recently, actually. I didn't really know it was a huge thing until I was sort of perusing social media.
I first learned about Women's History Month when we're talking about Ruby Bridges, actually. So it was way back when I was in elementary school.
I feel like when I first learned about Women's History Month was like when I was younger, but like this is really the year that came to my attention because I've been seeing it all around social media, and I've been seeing like people around me talking about it a lot. So like this is like when I started really getting into it.
I was in high school. I didn't really do much to learn about it. It was more just we were told that it existed.
The first time I learned about Women's History Month was here at the IC3, my junior year of college. I hadn't really heard about it previously, which is really disappointing actually, but I'm glad that I know about it now and I can join in the celebrating.
The first time I really learned about Women's History Month was like, I think about my senior year to my first year of college because, you know, I wasn't really involved like that during my high school, middle school.
It is so important to learn about women's history because women have done so much for our society and just for humankind. And so learning about women's history and all of the struggles and sexism that's really pervasive throughout our history is so important because it really impacts today and how we talk about women and how women are just taking over leadership roles. So it's really important that we look back to our history.
Because it's an entire gender that is not necessarily discussed a lot in history, and it focuses a lot on male history in a lot of classes I took.
I think it's important because women are the foundation of this, world. You can't really go anywhere without a woman. My mom was a single mom who raised me, so I have such high respect.
I think it's important to learn about women's history because women have been oppressed for so long, with the start with voting rights and everything, and then now it's more kind of this basis of equality that we're looking for and the way we're treated. And I think it's very important to kind of focus on that, especially as we go through our day-to-day lives and try to achieve and be successful as we move on through life.
Because women are the face of the earth, and even though we've been undermined our whole life and not in the spotlight that we deserve, we could rule the world. So I think that it should be more than a month, but a month is really nice to even have.
It's important to learn about women's history because there's been a long history of just a lot of inequities and inequalities relating to gender identity, and that's still going on today. So the more we educate ourselves about these different disparities, we can start to move toward a better future and not keep repeating the same cycle of just imbalances.
I think it's really important to learn about women's history because most of the strongest people in my life are women, and that's my mom, my aunt, and my grandma.
Not a lot. Not a lot of women were included in the history curricula in my school. I think we touched on a few of the main icons and that was about it. Other than that, it was presidents and other male figures.
I would say some, it wasn't like a centered kind of topic, if you will. So I wouldn't say that women's history was something that was like a common theme, but we definitely talked about, women in particular as it relates to just specific historical events. But it wasn't, again, something that was really like in your face, if you will. So it was on the back burner almost.
Rosa Parks, question mark?
I feel like there was really not any included in my K-12 when I was younger.
I don't think there was much included in my K-12 curriculum. I don't remember there ever being a display or an announcement about Women's History Month. I think there were a few references to it made in history classes. We talk about the suffragette movement and things like that. But outside of that, I don't think there was much taught.
There wasn't really much women's history included in my K-12 curricula. I can't really remember ever having a specific unit or lesson dedicated to that topic solely.
I think when I got a little bit older, around 3rd grade to 5th grade, they just had a little bit of information, mainly talked about Amelia Earhart, stuff like that. Just the little things. It wasn't really developed, and I didn't really learn anything.
Honestly, sad to say, no women's history has been included in my business classes. So I am an international business major, led by a lot of white males. So we don't touch upon a lot of female or women topics.
Not a lot of women's history has been included in my LaSalle classes. I haven't taken a lot of history classes at LaSalle, but for the ones I have taken, it's again mainly male icons.
Women's history in LaSalle classes, not as much as I'd like. We did talk a little bit about women when I took my History 104 KP, and so that was something that was really interesting, talking about empires, that was the course. But talking about women's history in general with other classes, not so much.
I actually think women's history has been included a lot through LaSalle, at least in my experience. I took a class with Jessie Toriak and Sarah Large, and also Alanis Rivera, and they taught all about intersectionality and inclusivity within all the different aspects of life. That was a really helpful class for me. I actually did a project on body inclusivity in the fashion major, which was an amazing opportunity to see kind of how women are oppressed within, body sizes in the industry, and also men as well.
I'm a CJ major, so I take a lot of classes where we focus on like gender, and we focus on, like, I took 2 where it was like they focus on women was part of a portion of it. So I learned a little bit about it. It would be nice to like learn more and get like more details and stuff like that, because like at a collegiate level you learn more, but not too much.
In my LaSalle classes, I don't think there's been much women's history there either. I kind of feel like, in order to learn about women's history specifically, you have to actively seek it out on your own.
From my LaSalle classes, I would say none either, because like I'm a business major, so it's kind of like how Black History Month we don't really talk about successful businessmen. So it's sad, but that's the truth that we're in right now.
We should celebrate Women's History Month by centering women as, in their voices. So centering women throughout history and really talking about all of different things as it relates to the pay gap, as it relates to women in business, as it relates to women in leadership in general, and having those conversations with folks.
I think with what we're doing right now, the upcoming events at the IC3, and just centering everything around womenness and what it is to be a woman and what that entails, the hardships, but also all of the highlights as well.
I feel like we should celebrate Women's History Month like in a big way, and like it should be the biggest celebration ever. Like, and everybody should be informed, and like we should really like be pushing it in from K to 12, so everybody can be educated on it when they get to college, and not like people like me that really start to educate themselves when they're in college.
With as much enthusiasm as we possibly can. I think it's just a wonderful thing. I think nowadays, like I said, like with social media and stuff, it's been definitely brought to the attention of people a lot more, and I've seen this kind of joy and glee brought about it, which is something that, I feel like in the past has been lacking. But now I think just gathering everybody and explaining the importance of it is really important.
I think we should celebrate Women's History Month by taking time to appreciate the contributions that women have made to society. There are so many ways to get actively engaged in those types of things, and I think it's good to focus on your interests, whether that's in policy or like scientific discoveries or art, just anything, and just taking a moment to really reflect on the way women have paved the way in those different areas.
I think like this year was like the first time it was like really big, but I think we should celebrate it like, just like any other important holiday or important like celebration month, where it's like, it's a big deal, and I want everyone to make it like as it's a big deal until it gets to the part where it's so big, where it's not like a out of place occurrence, it's a normal occurrence to like make a big deal about it and everyone really involved.
I think we should celebrate Women's History Month by having more of a community day based like event on campus, kind of similar to maybe Fresh Check Day or like symposium where there's multiple presentations of women's history.
How much women's history was included in my K through 12 curriculum was probably only Rosa Parks and the girl that flew the plane and something, and those are the only 2 that I can really jog my memory, so not much.
Not the girl who flew the plane. Amelia Earhart.
Yeah, her.
Okay, but like that proves the point.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
that's really
Yeah,
the
that's
point.
my
So
legit
true.
answer.
Yeah.